we started going online, talking to Rabbi Google, as you would say. And and to be honest with you, I'm not saying this because we're on the Nissim Black Show, but when the first thing that popped up, Black Orthodox Jew, was Nissim Black.
Hey, you are the king, I'ma crown you. And I'm just so happy I found you. Said you give me air when I'm drowning. Your presence I feel is a sound. Hey, what's going on? This is Nissim Black, and you are listening to the Nissim Black Show in partnership with the amazing people at THYH. Today, our guests are my dear friends Ladero and Danielle Hart, aka House of Lev. These two have become social media sensations, going viral simply by giving an intimate look inside of their life, their marriage, their family, and their conversion to Orthodox Judaism. Please welcome my dear friends, House of Lev. Okay, so thank you guys so much for coming to the show. Really, really appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule, podcasting and doing all the things you guys are doing yourself. Thank you guys. And first, before we start anything, I want to say B'Shah Tovah on the new baby. Bezat Hashem should be at the right time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing that baby. You guys make very beautiful babies.
Oh man,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is gonna be baby number
6.
Baby number 6.
Brother. Wow, you guys catching up with me, man.
Oh man, we
catching up with me.
I think we done. I think we're not going to try to compete and race. So I think
you're not going to compete.
Nah,
well,
man,
if so, trust me, I will give it to you, man. I will definitely give you the title. No doubt about it.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Likewise. So tell me, I want to just introduce you guys enough to my audiences because I'm sure a lot of people are already familiar with you guys, but I want to try to see if we could go in a little bit more in depth to that beginning journey for you guys. When you guys everybody always asks me, like, when I'm giving over my story, is what was the one moment? Like, and the truth is, it's not one moment. It's sort of generally, when I've talked to other people, generally it's an unraveling of truth that happens over time when you go through all these different type of emotions. But it's usually not just one thing. It's usually a chain of events that starts to take place that, in my personal opinion, that will wake a person up to Judaism. Come from our background, I would say, not only the black thing, but I'm talking about the Christian thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the overwhelming majority of converts to Orthodox Christianity were former Christians. Right. So what were the chain of events? Take us through that process of where you guys were before the conversion process and starting it.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in a very, very strong Christian, devout Christian household. And
which denomination?
it was a non-denominational. It started with Kojic, went to Baptist, then the non-denominational.
For those of you who don't know, Kojic is Church of God in Christ, and they're very, very spiritual group as well.
Sure. And so that was my upbringing. I mean, I went to church, multiple times a week, did the Sunday school, did the choirs and all that stuff. Very, very religious homes, but very, very loving family. My family really, really instilled spirituality, since the day I was born, the importance of really making sure that you keep God first in your life and so on and so forth.
Right.
And then for you?
Yeah, for me, it's total opposite of that. Did not grow up in a Christian family. Yeah, really. Actually, my mom was raised Catholic, but she rebelled against that as she became a teenager. And a lot of things weren't talked about as far as faith in my house. I knew my mom did believe in God. She prayed every single night. That's one thing I did see, is that she was praying every night.
Mm-hmm.
But we never talked about it. We never went to church as a family, never stepped foot in a church with my mother, to be honest. So all of that really changed when I met my husband. So then I went down the whole Christian route, and there was a lot of stuff though within Christianity with me, joining that with him. But I questioned so much within Christianity.
Yeah. My uncle was our pastor, and he still is to this day. He's still a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, growing up, I adopted that belief system because it was how I was raised, right? It's just
what was available to you at the time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And so, we later on in our marriage, we got to a point in our marriage, in our life, where we wanted to really have a relationship with God for ourselves. We really wanted to know, okay, what is this personal relationship, this connection with God? And so we just went on a journey. And to be honest with you, we we got a call. We got a call from a cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and he started sending us Hebrew Israelite videos. And
Nah,
and
nah.
he randomly like, hey, man, I really believe that the African Americans here in America are the children of Israel.
Mm.
And that was something though that got the
Mm-hmm.
gears turning.
It was a stepping stone. It was the beginning of that process, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so started watching some of those videos and very, very quickly ran away from it because it was very, very militant,
Right,
it was racism there, it was hatred, and I didn't feel God's love there. However, there was something about the message still. And
right.
there was still like you said, an unraveling of events. And so we kind of still held on to some of the Christian beliefs with their Messiah, and kind of went into the messianic route,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
learning some of Torah concepts, some Judaism as well. And then
Do you think I think what you said there is powerful. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's
oh,
just,
no, no.
you know, many different Sephorim would discuss this in different ways. I'm thinking right now of a specific sefer called I think of the sefer Otsa Hayira, one of the Breslover Sephorim,
Okay.
that specifically when it deals with this section of emes and emunah, emet and emunah, that it talks about in order for anything to even start to begin to have grounds, even if you're going to tell the biggest lie in the world, you have to start with truth.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be some bit of truth in it, or else it would never take legs at all. It has to start with some form of truth. So generally, how I think most people, because you ask the question, how can people follow, a religion, and there's massive amounts of people inside of it. So I think there's a thing where every religion has some truth to it.
Yeah.
Every branch of faith has some truth to it.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that the whole thing is true. It doesn't mean that the total. I would say that if you tell, in this case we'll say a husband, you tell him, was it true that your wife was at such and such store, and he knows that his wife went to that store, and he says, oh yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then after that, you can say whatever you want. Oh, I seen her with another man, and she
Right,
was,
right,
you
right,
could, and you could do all type of things with that person's emotions. I would say that if you could start with that little bit of truth, you could take a person to anywhere, to any place that you want to go. I think we've seen that with the media over the last few years. It's really done that. They've probably been doing it for a long time, but everybody just now really notices it. Depending on what channel you're watching, you're getting a different form of a truth. We'll start out with a story everybody knows, and then this is their spin on it. So
right.
in terms of your faith, you had no way of being able to detect, because there was a truth there that led you into that, and then you
No,
say that
definitely.
truth later on led you into Messianic Judaism.
Yeah, yeah. So we just stayed there for a minute, and then what I was doing at the time was I said, okay, let me take this Christian Bible that I have and let me hold it up to a Jewish Bible. I needed to get my hands on a Tanakh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so eh, my understanding, right, which was a very, very simple understanding, the Torah clearly said, don't add to this book, don't subtract to it. And so I was looking at what I had, a Christian Bible. There was a lot of subtractions and there was a whole bunch of additions. Right? And in fact, they took the Jewish Bible, rearranged the books, right? That was a big red flag for us.
Yeah.
But then they took a whole entirely new book and attached it on, to the Jewish Bible and called it an Old Testament, out with the old, in with the new kind of thing. And
Right.
so I said, this is interesting. Then we started kind of learning about the Jewish culture, which was something that you're not supposed to do in a lot of the Israelite groups, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't the belief system is, right, this is our book, right? We're the real chosen few, we're the chosen people, right? And we don't need to convert to something that we already are. And so
Right.
we started researching, okay, who are these Jewish people, that they have this plight with? And started doing searches, okay, like I need to know, well, are there any Black Orthodox Jews? So we we started going online, talking to Rabbi Google, as you would say. And and to be honest with you, I'm not saying this because we're on the Nissim Black Show, but when the first thing that popped up, Black Orthodox Jew, was Nissim Black.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I was very, very intrigued by when we found you. Yes, because I was like, okay, this, we were comparing, being connected to the Hebrew Israelites, and then we saw you. And I was I mean, we didn't even like investigate more about who you were, all of this stuff, but it was just something I was like, okay, he has a black hat. He's wearing ZZs that are not clipped on. They're like actually, it's like, and I, as funny as that is, but I was like, there's something here. I said, you know what? I said, babe, we need to look more into this Orthodox Judaism. I said, I feel something here. I feel something. I couldn't even explain it. But there's something within this. I said, this seems more of truth. And we were questioning a lot too. They weren't keeping the Sabbath as well too. So there was things that we were looking, obviously, in the Tanakh that we were like, well, why are they picking and choosing this? But then over here, the Jews are actually doing what it says. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. I think about it because, and it's very flattering. Trust me, I did no marketing to make sure that I popped up on Google as the Black Jew. But what's interesting about that is as I've discussed with a lot of other Jews of color, Black Jews, whatever, is that the when we're looking at the Israelite communities, which there's different. Not all of the communities from the Israelite community are militant. I know there's different groups, so you don't usually know that, right? Like every group, whichever is loudest group, that's what you think of the whole community, right? You understand what I'm saying? For better or worse. I love Nanachs, but they're the loudest breast lovers. So everybody thinks if you breast love, you dance on cars and trucks and you stop traffic, the whole everything. And that's their mahalach, and I love them and their breast lovers, but that's probably not the bulk of breast love. Most of breast love are not Nanachs. They, wear Streimlech, they go with Bekishes, So in every group it's like that. However, what's interesting about this is that as time has progressed, looking at that movement in particular, I've always said to people, I said that, listen, once the more and more exposure that people have to Jews who are Black or African American descent, that have a true, genuine love for Torah, have a genuine love for Hashem, it just will shine forth all the time. It's always going to shine forth because everybody knows this innate thing that people feel and they know. Even people who are kofrim, who I would say not necessarily 100% atheists, they're against God, they're agnostic, they're whatever they are. They even would have an understanding, and the problem even maybe with God is that everybody has understanding that God is love.
Yeah.
That God is love. That the one thing that everybody would expect more than anything else from God is love. So if you are pushing a faith or religion or whatever it is, and it's about God and there's no love there, that's going to be a red flag to almost anybody, right? Like it's just like anybody that's actually looking for God, anybody that's looking for excuse to blame somebody else or to be racist or something like that, they may not catch it. But a person that's looking for God, that's going to wave a major red flag. So what happens for you guys after that transition from there, and now after you guys figured out, are you seen my handsome face on the internet? I'm joking. What happens to you guys afterwards? You go to the rabbi. Did you guys end up, Rabbi Tovia Singer's on the internet? Like what was the transition?
Correct. And Rabbi Tovia Singer was a very, very instrumental figure in our journey, as well as the whole Jews for Judaism YouTube channel as well. And they were just really, these videos were just really, really creating a foundation, helping us kind of break through some of the beliefs that we had and things that we grew up with. We had a lot of questions, obviously. And and these videos really, really helped. And so we came to the conclusion, we said, hey, this is what we want to do. Right. And so it
wasn't really even that long, like
no
between like even like the whole like Hebrew Israelite movements, like that was like everything was like phases. It was like 6 months of that, then maybe it was like 4 months of like with a different group that was less aggressive, and then it was like with within a few months after that, it was like still messianic. And then it was like, oh, we're not even messianic anymore, to then finding Rabbi Tobias Singer. He was very instrumental as far as that whole getting out of the messianic phase of it. And then we finally got to this point after we saw you and we discovered Orthodox Judaism. We were just like, we want to go all the way. Like we, to be honest with you, we didn't even know about like conversions. Like, yeah. So we had a lot of stuff to educate ourselves.
and so I, in my search of like Black Orthodox Jews, long story short, I found Yehuda Price. And so I found him on Instagram, reached out, connect, and we saw the community that he lived in, and it was actually a city that we considered at one point of our life. And we said, oh my God, there's a Jewish community there, so on and so on. We asked him a lot of questions. He's, just an amazing individual. So he said, hey, let me reach out to my rabbi. Long story, got the email address from the rabbi, gave it to me. I sent him a long email about our story. The very, very next morning, the rabbi reached out, responded back, and was like, hey, I got your message, got your story. Very, very interesting. Would love to set up a time to meet you and your family. At the end of the message, this was it. He said, the end of the message, he said, welcome home, brother.
Wow.
And I said, here we go. Here's our journey. And so we moved into a Jewish community about 7-8 months after that.
Yeah, 8 months after that.
That's power. That is power. And the reason why I say that is so important to hear is because I'm interviewed quite a bit, and I've been interviewed quite a bit over my years. And one thing that everybody's always interested to know is, how much racism are you encountering in the Jewish community? Do you ever feel like odd because you're Black? Nobody ever asked me, you know what I'm saying? Have I ever experienced like love in the Jewish community? Like nobody understands that even with the few things that I have experienced, I would say in my lifetime, it's so small and minute compared to the amount of love that I've received from the Jewish community. It's like
so much.
Not even close, right?
Right. Not even close. 100% we agree, because that's all we got. The moment we were visiting the community first for a while. Like our rabbi encouraged us, because we were living 2 hours away from where we now currently stay. And he goes, because we want you guys to, get a feel of the community before you move here, drive down on Shabbat, actually drive for Shabbats, see how it is. So we were doing that probably 2 times at least a month, driving 2 hours, at least 2 of the Shabbats a month. And everybody gave us so much love, not people asking us like, okay, what's your story? Like, are you converts, or are you converting? Like, nobody asked us that. It was just,
we didn't get that. They treated us like they knew that we, we're new to the community, but nobody gave us this hard time, to make very uncomfortable. It was just like
stairs, or
like, yo, just come in, give me a hug, brother. And it was love.
Yeah.
So powerful. I think it's big and important for people to hear, because a lot of people have that big. Now on the flip side, a lot of times people, and it could differ in different communities, a lot of people don't understand how much right you would be investigating a person who came, no matter what color they are, into a Jewish community, especially if there's something that obviously that would make you think that they're not Jewish, right? Not that you can't have Jews of color, but generally if you're in a community, you've never seen such a thing before, and somebody else from the outside comes in, like, I don't know if you noticed, but Jews are just like not the world's favorite people, right? So of course everybody's going to know, what are you doing here? Why'd you get here? What was they're curious. I want to know. What was the story? Was the support? It's like, this is our secret club over here that nobody really knows anything about. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very interesting how a lot of times we can interpret things the wrong way. You know what I mean? Even when you do get some type of like, hold on, are they resisting me? Am I whatever? It's like, no, people genuinely, they're curious. They want to know. A lot of people also, too, a lot of times want to be inspired, want to really be inspired.
Right. And I think that's something, if I can add, that's something that we realized when we first started going to like Judaic stores. I think we had to switch our perspective of like, you know, we were thinking like, what are they going to think? We were nervous. Like, what are they going to ask us in this? And, you know, I think sometimes you can get caught up into this, they're judging me. They're looking at me a certain way. But when we got in there, it was nothing but love and respect. And how can I help you? Is there something you're looking for in particular? And so it was just like, man, we went in there and we came out, we were like, man, we were so nervous for no reason. And we just had this concept in our mind of this is what it's going to look like, or this is what's going to happen. So, I mean, I think, you know, you really have to change your perspective when going into, you know, when it comes to especially somebody converting through Judaism, you have to understand that it's not a negative thing. It's just like, you're new, like, you know what I mean? You're new. We've never seen you. It's not even so much even about your color.
Right. Exactly. So here's my question. So after finding out all of that stuff, you realize, okay, we're going to start this process. And somewhere along this process, you guys decide, like, let's start talking about our journey on YouTube. You know, like, I want to know how and what that. Now, also, too, somewhere in this transition, I just want to get this place in. You guys were originally in Detroit, correct?
Yeah.
We're from Detroit.
We're born and raised in Detroit.
Born and raised in Detroit. And then you moved to LA.
Yeah.
Now, from what I understand and what I already know, you got mad skills when it comes to the moving your limbs. Okay. So when you decided to come to LA, was it just for the conversion? Did you think about that? Was that the first thing, or were you doing a career move? What was on your head?
No, we had no intentions on leaving where we currently were spiritually. It was all career based. It was all for entertainment.
Wow.
Because this is 11 years ago. We've been here for 11 years in California.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. And then, so somewhere in there, you're like, well, Hashem has a story. Like, I want to know how that transitioned into the YouTube page, because it was like so smart to do, right? Because everybody has that question on what's it like going to. You're probably eliminating a lot of questions at the Shabbos table when people have you over, because you have a YouTube page. You understand? I say getting it all out of the way.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
Years ago when I did Motherland Bounce, I was tired of being asked questions. People want to know where the song come from. I was just tired of being asked questions.
There you go.
Play the song and live with it. You understand?
Yeah.
But I want to know how'd you get to the YouTube page?
Yeah. So, you know, I was dancing and performing and doing all those different things, and you know, maybe about just a couple years ago, we were just really, really excited about our marriage. And so marriage and family. And so we said, hey, wouldn't it be cool at some point to just kind of start sharing marriage tips? And so we started a YouTube page, in 2021 sometime. And it was just based on marriage. And so just kind of sharing different things. Right. And so then, you know, more babies came. And then so you know, you start slowing down a little bit. And we were speaking with someone on Instagram. They were just kind of asking us about our story and whatever. And they were like, hey, listen, have you guys ever thought about just kind of sharing your conversion journey? You know, a lot of people have questions they want to know and all these things. And we we've thought about it, but we were thinking about maybe starting talking about some of those things after we convert. But then we said, well, maybe people might be interested in wanting to know kind of while you're on the journey kind of thing, you know, because who knows how long the journey is going to be, right? Nobody knows how long the conversion process is going to be. So we said, okay, let's do it. November of 2022, that was our first video where we just kind of put it out there, and then this is what we're doing, and then that was about 6 months ago, and then from there, it just, you know, we had no idea that it'll take off how it did.
Yeah, like he said, though, that's like we started that too because, well, obviously with the person that reached out and was like, you guys should do this. We were already thinking it, but we did it because when we were, you know, on the internet looking online, we were trying to look for couples. We were looking for other like Black couples, like who's going through a conversion process. We were just
sorry, my wife doesn't like the camera.
It's okay. But we were just like, we know there's people that, you know, are on YouTube that has gone through a conversion process, but we were just kind of looking for more. So we just said, you know, the things that we found that maybe were lacking, we wanted to give that. And so that's gave us our idea to really just start that in November, like you said, 6 months ago. Just 6 months ago, we
Wow.
started that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it definitely has been growing because, like, I get excited. Everybody like, Nissim, I love your podcast. It's like, really? Yeah, with House of Lev, and this is like, oh, that one. I was like, I said, who didn't see this podcast? Everywhere I go, everybody's talking about it. Like, no, it's
Man.
really it's phenomenal, and it was great for me because you know, for years people are telling me and my wife, you guys should like start talking about like your whole process and everything. And we've been approached by, you don't want to know who in terms of the entertainment. I mean, I have my own show going on now with HBO, but
Yeah.
Sony reached out to us. A few different people have tried to get our story. My
Mhm.
wife's like, we're not doing it, not
No.
happening. And what's awesome is that I got actually turned on to you guys' to your thing from my wife. My wife was watching.
Hey.
My wife actually was watching you guys' uh
Oh, man.
thing. And
Wow.
so I was like, that's Ladero. I said, that's Ladero. No, from my group chat. No, I know him. I was like, I had no idea that the whatever, because I wasn't busy with watching all the shows or whatever. But then that was how I actually got introduced to it. So it's definitely spreading. I think it's an amazing thought and idea to say, let's not wait. Let's go through the whole entire process
Mhm.
and catch everything from the beginning, because I'm sure you can imagine now, because of the position you put yourself in by doing it, that I'm sure this is probably not anything new to you, but I get so many messages from people who are so interested in Judaism, and they want to know how to convert, where to go, what the process is like. I'm getting these questions all the time, and now I could just refer everybody to you guys' YouTube page. Very, very good. So
Oh, man.
no doubt about it. I think it's a very, very good thing. So I want to talk about this transition. And this is going to be there's two parts of the transition. I'll start with this first one, and we'll stay just very spiritual and religious. One of the things I've been toying with right now is that it happens to a lot of different converts, no matter what their background is. But one of the things that I've seen specifically, and I'm gonna just keep it a $1.50 with you guys, because I know I can, with converts who come from an African American descent, come from a Black descent, there's a lot of resistance a lot of times to authority. Most guys come in through guys, girls come in through some type of, either if it wasn't really messianic, it's usually easier. But once you've gone through the Hebrew Israelite path, sometimes it's a little harder to undo a lot of the philosophical things that you have towards people who are not the same color as you.
Mhm.
Sure.
So so what happens a lot of times is it's very hard to not just fit into a community because you don't look like everybody else. A lot of times people think that, I think that that's where they think the struggle is, but it's a sort of, we have an idea, and really a mandate, to have emunas chachamim. You have to believe, and the rabbis and the chachamim, the wise ones, the sages, and to sort of have a certain level of what we would call bittul, submission, to be able to submit yourself into the eights of the advice, the Torah, the laws, as the tradition as it's been handed down, which is hard for a lot of people for many different reasons. I see the Hebrew Israelite thing is a very hard thing for people. I've also seen that, and I think this is germane to all converts from many different backgrounds, and this is also too for my listeners who are Orthodox. You have to bear with us. I'm gonna tell you why. The biggest thing is, one thing that happens to a person when you're converting from one religion. First thing is that you just realize that which you've submitted your life to is false.
Yep.
You understand?
Yep.
I was hurt by the fact that what I thought I believed in turns out that a great deal of it, if not all, is not true.
Mhm.
So therefore, there's a certain level of distrust that I may have with religion altogether, organized religion. So now I have to come into this faith, and I can't help the fact that I'm finding truth over here. It turned me towards Torah, and I'm going in, and I want to know everything I want in, but there's a certain guard where I'm protecting myself, that that could lead to me having a failed faith in the Chachamim, in the sages, and the wisdom and the Masorah, and sort of like this being afraid of letting yourself go. And I find that a lot of people find it very hard to fit in to the communities. So I guess my question is for you. Did you ever feel, or as you're going through this process, a struggle with being able to sort of submit yourself to, it's very hard to say, but the Masorah tradition, the wisdom of the rabbis, the Chacham, the authority of the rabbis? Has that been a struggle for you?
You know, excuse me. At the very beginning, I would say it was somewhat challenging, because the people that we were spending time with, basically, I mean, they totally oppose that idea. You know, it's like, you know,
Right.
the teaching was like, we are the ones that holds this Masorah, so we are the ones that has to distribute it throughout the world. And you know, they you know, belief systems around, you know, that the Europeans took this from us and all the right. So that's a very, very strong indoctrination. That wasn't, I didn't adopt that. You know, that was something that I was very, very turned off on. So I battled with it just for a quick second, because that was just the environment. But at the same time, it was something that I really wanted so bad. I wanted to submit myself to authority, because my whole life, again, you mentioned it, you learn that your belief system is built on something that's not solid. And so I'm like, man, this means that the people that I did put my trust in, they didn't really know. So therefore, I need to find people who knows, right? And so that's why when it comes to, like, you know, it's so interesting you mentioned this, because that is my favorite mitzvah, is clinging to God, right? Which means clinging to the Torah scholars, clinging to people who know more than you. And that's one thing that I love about Breslov, right? I fell in love with the teachings of Rabbi Nachman and all those who teach the Torah, and I love just being around Torah, learning. You know, I love having somebody that has been around something longer than me, you know. And so it's something that I've been totally open to, and it's something that was a big necessity in my life.
Yeah, I don't think so much I had the challenge. I think it comes down to kind of more of men, to be honest, at having a submission, because I know a lot of men have ego and things like that. I mean, for me, it was really
Don't like to ask for directions.
yeah, it was. I mean, I was more connected to just truth. It was just truth. If it's truth there and there's the proof of it right there, then I can't question that. And I think even for Ladro and I, we were both raised of not really looking so much into color. That's why I did not really connect to the Hebrew Israelite. I mean, as we were connected to certain people, he knows I questioned a lot of the stuff that the people we were connected to. I was like, I don't know if I like that. There's something about this I don't like. And it was always me like questioning certain stuff within that. And especially because we have, like, I mean, my mom is Ukrainian and Irish French. So it's like, who am I to be like European, or you know what I mean?
You got to hate half yourself, you know what I'm saying?
I gotta hate half of myself. So it's like, that doesn't even make sense. And then he has, you know, on his mother's side, they have, you know, European descent as well too. So it's like we couldn't be in that place, and it never felt right. Never felt right for us.
That's interesting. Me and my wife are sort of the same way. I didn't really have a long Hebrew Israelite. I investigated it, I looked at it, but I didn't really have a true stint in there. I can't say I was ever like a part of any of those communities. I kind of went straight from, you know, from, I guess I would say, to Christianity on the fringe, and then going into Messianic Judaism. I was a part of a community there for 2 years. Me and my wife were there. But it sounds very similar in that vein. And I think that a lot of times, I have a good friend, Ezra, who actually, well, I need to have on my podcast. Ezra said something to me that I found strikingly true, in my opinion. It's not all the time like this, but it's definitely most of the case. Ezra is a very, very serious chassid, somebody I look up to in terms of his determination and will to be chazak. He's very, very strong in all of his opinions and shitas and different things like that. He lives in like one of the most Hasidish closed neighborhoods here. Even though I would consider myself a lot more open to him, but I'm definitely admire a lot of his movements and his ability to stay so stark and so strong. But I remember one time we were talking, and he said generally what he has found that people who were religious before, not saying that they had to grow up religious, meaning that they were very faithful to God in whatever religion. If they were faithful in Christianity, then generally after they convert, they're very faithful in Judaism also, meaning that they're usually very strong. Ezra didn't grow up listening to Tupac and Big and all the other stuff like we did. He was at church and he never listened to these guys. That was never his. You understand? So can you imagine he doesn't listen to Nissim Black today? So he's already, Ezra's a very, very, that's the way that he's, and I realized that, before I came in to Judaism, I was very chazak. I was very, very strong and my belief in Christianity. It wasn't like one of those things like, it's not like, Rabbi Singer himself. He says though generally if a person is converting from Judaism to Christianity, it's usually a Jew who didn't know too much about Judaism. He didn't know anything. He wasn't raised in yeshiva. He wasn't Orthodox. He's usually not affiliated. On the flip side happens usually with Christianity. It's usually people who are very, very involved in Christianity, very, very strong, who are knowledgeable of it, that usually go, hey, something's not lining up, and eventually end up converting into Judaism. So that's generally the way that those things happen. So because I think I was very, very strong at that point, by the time I came to Judaism, I've been able to be very strong and faithful because that was a relationship I had with God before I was able to, unveil him even more. You understand what I mean?
Beautiful.
You feel like that initial relationship, sort of is what's helping you guys to be strong, so to speak, even now.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
I was very, very devout. I was like a low key missionary type guy. Every chance I get, I would be trying to, share stuff. You know what
Share
I
the
mean?
good words.
That's
Yeah,
how he
man.
got me, right? I know.
And it's interesting you say that too, because I, as a Christian, I've always wanted to tell the world about God. I always wanted to do something like that, right? Making music or speaking publicly somewhere. If I had the chance, I wanted to always make God's name
Big.
known,
Right.
make it
Right.
big. So
I
I look
share
at
that. I share that.
yeah, I look at what Hashem has put in front of us today with the platform like this, and
Right.
we're still going strong like that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let me ask you this: do you guys feel? Because somebody asked me this recently, and I'm interested to know how you guys feel about it. I want to see how you answer. Do you feel any connection still to black culture at all, or black community?
Hmm.
Are those two separate
That's a good
things?
question.
Yeah.
Um, this is the thing. It's a challenging question because it's like, yes, you want to be connected to your black culture, right? And we are in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish, I think for us, the challenge is that the black culture just has it's like they've been through so much as well too, just as like the Jews, is that there's this stubbornness, there's this disconnect, and there's this separation as well that I think is the challenge sometimes for us of wanting to be connected. Because I feel sometimes I'm like, why are African Americans so disconnected from each other? Like, why aren't we working together? And this is what I loved about Judaism, is because it's all about helping your fellow brother and sister.
Right.
Like it's all about helping each other. And I'm like, why isn't the black community like that so much? I'm not saying all, but
Mm-hmm.
majority of from what we've experienced, that's what it is.
I think when it relates to when it relates to if when it comes to black culture, if there's anything, because of where we are now, if there's anything that's counter Jewish life, then I feel that it's something that we want no part of.
Right.
You know? So I mean, yes, we are black. You know, that's something that we can't get around, you know,
Right.
but also learning that, you know, being Jewish, it means so much. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
A color attached to it.
Yeah, you know, we interviewed Zakaria,
Yeah.
Chaim OG,
Mm-hmm.
and you know,
Deep.
he said something very beautiful that just stuck with me. 'Cause we brought up this conversation about color as well.
Yeah.
And I asked him, you know, what's his mindset or his experience about being a Black Orthodox Jew. He was like, well, the first thing I have to say is the lashon, is the language,
Mm.
you know. So he said the only Black Jews that I know is my friend in Israel. His name is Nissim Baruch Black. And then he said the only brown Jews that I know is his brother. You know, I think he said Joseph Brown and his
Yeah.
family. You
Right.
know,
Oh, we were like, that is
and so
so good.
I love that. And so that really just made me think about, he was like, you know, this, to be a Jew, like it was never, your color had nothing to do with it.
Never.
You know,
Never.
you know, it's not a, you have to be a certain color to be a Jew. It's like, no, this is like somewhat of more of a recent phenomenon,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know? And so when
Right.
it comes to, again, identifying, you know, Black culture, there's a lot of things that comes with being Black, you know,
Yeah.
and so again, if it's, you know, if it's anti-Jewish, you know, then
We don't want
we
to be a
want no
part of
part
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Absolutely. That's why I feel also too. So the way I sort of answered that question was Black community, yes. Black culture, no. And
Mm.
I'm saying modern Black culture because gun culture, all of these
Sure.
things of way that people have, the way that Black people have been portrayed over the years, from the times even of us growing up, the communities that I was affiliated with. None of that I don't want to shake us to. And I have, what does it have to do with my life? It has nothing to do with my life. In fact, I think it's a new culture that has hijacked the Black community, which
Mm.
at one point was very much so about family, very much so about, economically sustaining yourself in businesses, Black Wall Street. That's Black culture. There's a this is very interesting. I think I may have shared this in our group chat that we have. But there's videos from I don't know if it's like if it's an organization, if it's a business or whatever, called History Through Color.
Mhm.
And there's a few different videos that they were able to go back and color, which was like from the 1930s. They've gone back to the
Wow.
1897. They did a beautiful coloring of the Alpha Gate from 1897. They did, different meeting groups from, I think maybe Birmingham or whatever. And they have some from the Black community back then. And you have to see this video. All these guys are coming out from this lunch meeting, all Black men, dressed suit and tie,
Hmm.
hats on, coming out, very, very mechubed, looking very, very nice and snazzy.
Hmm.
Now, what's interesting about this is that all the time people pressing me like, why are you dressing so European or whatever? And
Ah,
and if they're around me, I show them. I said, look at this video. I said, I'm dressing like my forefathers. They all
ah.
dress like this, they all dress like this.
I
This
Yeah.
is
like that.
it's an interesting thing. I'm dressing the same way my forefathers did. I'm supposed to do like now with everybody with my pants. They're not so baggy anymore, but they're tight and they're still sagging, and the whole everything else and the chains and tattoos all over my face, a shimirachim. Like these things, that's not Black culture. You
Right.
understand? That's not Black culture. This is an imposter to what we are as a people.
Exactly.
So that was my biggest thing. I think as a community, yes. As a culture, no.
Yeah.
So I think my last question is for you guys is what is next? Obviously, building the family, finishing the conversion situation, and as Israel and the plans. I know we talked about it before. I just want to know really what's next for you guys, even with the YouTube page. What's going on?
Yeah, everything you said, finishing the conversion, taking care of family, obviously, those are the most important things.
Mhm.
And but we would love to make Aliyah
Mm,
like as soon as possible. We got a lot of moving parts here. We got
right,
kids that are, a few kids that are a little bit older and that are in
right.
high schools and all those things. So we got some few moving parts, but making Aliyah is the thing that we talk about the most
At
in our home.
least once a day, every day.
Um,
Right.
as far as our career, that with this YouTube thing, I mean, we still want to obviously continue to do it, continue just to share,
Mhm.
um, but we want to, start expanding a little bit.
Hmm.
Right.
We want to make House of Lev some type of brand, and so
Right. Right.
we want to do, there's talks of possibly doing some television,
Amazing.
something like that, some clothing and, production. One big thing too that we talk about is resources for children.
Right.
And
Huge.
and our right now, and I know, when you go into majority of bookstores, there it's not a lot of diversity in these books and in
Yep.
these
Yep.
toys. The cartoons, for our kids, if for people who are watching television, you know uh, being able have our kids being able to see themselves in these resources is very, very important to them.
Very.
And
Very.
so
Very.
that's one thing that's big on our hearts, and we want to really, really start making some changes in that area.
Hmm.
Bezrat Hashem.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, please keep me involved.
Yes.
I need to be involved. I think we're definitely on the same page with that.
Beautiful.
Listen, I could go on all night because I adore you guys so much, Baruch Hashem, and I'm so happy to be called a friend. And Bezrat Hashem, soon we'll be together either here. I have a feeling I'm gonna see you guys in LA before I see you over here, but whatever the case is, we should see each other soon. Again, Bashar Tovan, the new baby, Bezrat Hashem, and we should be dancing at your second wedding very, very soon, Bezrat Hashem.
Bezrat
Yes.
Hashem. Thank you so much, Nissim. We
Yes.
appreciate it, and all the best to you and your amazing,
Yeah.
amazing family as
Yeah.
well, brother.
Beautiful family.
Thank
Please tell your wife I said hello.
Will
And
do.
thank you
Will
again.
do.
This is an honor for us. So thank you.
Likewise, likewise.
תקשיב לליבי